Brahmagyanaatimirandasya Jnananjana Shalakaya Chaksurunmilitam Yena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha Namo Vishnupadaya Krishnaprasada Bhutale Srimate Bhaktivedanta Swami Niti Namane Namaste Saraswate Deve Gauravani Pracharine Nirbhishesha Shunyavadi Pastyatya Deshatarine Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Shivasadi Gaura Bhakta Vrinda Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Shivasadi Gaur Bhakta Vrinda Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama Hare Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama Hare Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama Rama Rama
Vishnupad Paramahamsa Paripad Jakacharya Sto Tadasatashi Shrimad A.C. Bhakti Vedanta Swami Raj Prabhupada Ki Jai Ananta Koti Vaishnavrinda Ki Jai Namacharya Sridharidas Thakur Ki Jai Prem Sakaho Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Shiva Sadi Gaur Bhaktivinoda Ki Jai Sri Sri Radha Krishna Gopinath Sham Kund Radha Kunigiri Govardhan Ki Jai Vrindavan Dham Ki Jai Navadip Dham Ki Jai Jagannath Puri Ki Jai Gangamai Ki Jai Jamunamai Ki Jai Tulsi Devi Ki Jai Bhakti Devi Ki Jai Samaveta Bhaktivinoda Ki Jai. All glories to the assembled devotees. All glories to the assembled devotees. All glories to the assembled devotees. Gaur Premanande. Hari Hari Bol. Hare Krishna. Now I wonder if my earphone is working properly.
Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna.
Working properly. Thank you. Welcome to all, especially welcome to Meena Devi and to Haridas and to Lalit Prasad and all. Om Jnana Timirantasya Gyananjana Shalakaya Chakshun Militam Jena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha Shri Chaitanya Manobhistam Sthapitam Jena Bhutale Swayam Rupakada Mahyam Tadhati Shapadantikam Vandehang Shri Guru Shri Jatapada Kamalang Shri Gurun Vaishnavanscha Shri Rupam Shagrashatam Sahagana Raganatan Vitam Stam Sajivam Sadvaitam Savadhutam Parijana Sahitam Krishna Chaitanya Devam Shri Radha Krishna Padan Sahagana Lalita Sri Vishakanvitamscha He Krishna Karuna Sindho Dina Bandho Jagatpate Gopesha Gopika Kanta Radha Kanta Namostute Tapta Kamshana Gaurangi Radhe Vrindavaneshwari Prisha Bhanu Sute Devi Pranamami Hodi Priye Vansha Kolpatarubhyascha Kripa Sindhobhyevacha Patita Nam Pavanebhyo Vaishnavebhyo Namo Namaha Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Shiva Sadi Gaur Bhaktarinda Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare. I wanted to begin by offering my respect to my late godbrother Vijendranandan Prabhu, who left the world this past week. He was a wonderful Vaishnava and like sweetness personified, wonderfully happy in Krishna consciousness, and just a pleasure to be with because he was always humble and happy to be engaged in devotional service. He spent, apart from being based in San Diego, he spent a lot of his time in recent years in Sridham Mayapur, and it was always a pleasure to be there with him. So many devotees are feeling his absence, and where he went quickly from diagnosis to departure, and the last days decided to give up eating, and his last words, it was reported, were Hare Krishna. He wasn't speaking for the last day and a half or something, but then at the end, Hare Krishna. That means full success. Ante Narayana Smriti. Now, I wonder what topics might be bubbling up in your thoughts this evening.
Prabhu has posted something in the chat box.
I didn't activate my chat box. Okay, let's see what's in it. Preaching can be done by one who knows the science of Krishna. Then why the need of sannyas or donning of saffron cloth? Praveen asks that question. Actually, there's no need. Jai Krishna Tattva Veta Shai Guru Hai Kiba Vipra Kiba Nasi Shudra Keninoy. Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu said, it doesn't matter whether one is a Brahmin or a sannyasi or a Shudra. If he knows the science of Krishna, then he can preach Krishna consciousness. He can become a guru. So the saffron cloth is for creating an impression. Of course, it creates an impression upon the person who receives it. He knows that I have to be particularly serious and responsible. And it creates an impression on the public that here's a person who's in the renounced order. Of course, in the West, saffron, white, no one really knows. And we find even sometimes that in India, people also don't distinguish. But this sannyas order, Srila Prabhupada gave to some disciples, he said because without sannyasis, he said to create that impression on the public and also on the other members, that this person is in the leadership position. He's a person who's meant to give spiritual guidance. So for those reasons, otherwise, anyone who knows the science of Krishna. Is that all right? Tulsi Priya's hand is there.
Hare Krishna Maharaj. That makes me think of other questions. For one thing, sannyas is part of the varnashram system, so it seems like
Mm.
it may not be required for preaching, but it seems like it's required for society that there be such people. And then the other thing is, I think about in our own society, it seems that we are supposed to understand, as Prabhu wrote, that preaching can be done by one who knows the science of Krishna, but we have, this is my perception, that there's maybe less attention given to discerning who knows the science of Krishna, and more attention given to perhaps, whoever has a profile as a sannyasi or a profile as a big preacher. I guess it's a kind of pet peeve of mine that, I think that you can learn about Krishna from, the senior devotee who may be very humble, who's scrubbing pots next to you, but we tend to, go for the high profile figures and think that, fame or popularity or leadership role translates to spiritual realization. And it may, or it may exist concurrently, but I feel like sometimes we have this mentality that the more elevated or higher status equals higher spiritualization. Is that a mistake for me to think that way, or is there some truth to it?
Yeah, there's some truth to it. Therefore, we have to read the books. Kiva Vipra Kiva Nyasu Shudra. It's not a question of simply varnashram status, but who's advanced in Krishna consciousness. Not automatically that by accepting sannyas one becomes advanced, although one may be advanced and accept sannyas. But we have to see who's engaged in the service of Krishna and the spiritual master and who knows the science. Therefore, we have to read the books to pick these things up. Also, another thought, another reason for giving sannyas is to get someone free from householder life. Prabhupada gave sannyas for that also. The sannyas is meant for creating leadership, creating an impression, but it's also meant as an exit. That householder life is not eternal. At a certain point, this householder life, which can absorb so much of our time and attention, can be left behind for Krishna's service. So that's another point on that. Prabhupada did that. He gave sannyas to people who were ready to leave householder life, as well as to some who've never been in it.
Thank you, Maharaj.
Mm-hmm. Lali Prasad Prabhu.
Thank you, Maharaj. I have a class question. We're reading in Kamalini's and Apurva's Srimad Bhagavatam, chapter 17 of Canto 4. Maharaj Prithu becomes angry at the earth. And the question was asked by not just, well, I thought of the question, but somebody asked it before I did. Is this earth the same, or is this demigod that King Prithu addresses the same demigod that headed up to Lord Brahma, along with, headed up to the ocean of milk? Is it the same demigod? Because Kamalini explained that the earth is Mother Earth is a demigod, just like Indra. And so the question is, are these earth demigods an assigned position? Are they different? Is this Mother Earth that King Prithu is angry at in his time the same earth that Lord Krishna appears on when he comes?
Same
Do you
earth.
get my question?
Yes, as far as I know, and Kamalini's joined us, so she can say also, because she brought it up. But as far as I know, there's no difference. It's not a rotating, it's never mentioned in Shastra as a rotating post or something. This is the demigod who's the presiding, who represents, if you will, the earth. I don't see any indication of change there.
Okay, that was the question. Thank you, Maharaj.
Thank you. Want to add something, Kamalini?
But we hear like mostly the demigods are rotating, right?
Right. A new Indra, new seven sages, new, yes. Now, Haridas.
Yes, Hare Krishna. This was just a comment following up from some of the discussions we were having during the week about the topics presented that deal more with the creation and subjects like that, as opposed to direct Leela, let's say, like that. And I was just going to comment that in the temple at Potomac, one Sunday feast, they played, as they do sometimes, a lecture from Srila Prabhupada that he gave. And he was able, as we listened to it, to go from those kind of topics that were more about the creation and the senses and the struggle for existence, all the way to topics that were more dealing with direct Vrindavan Leela without missing a beat. And he was able to do that in a way, in one lecture, that you felt like, or you listened and experienced that he went from here to there with the same enthusiasm and the same mood as he presented them both. So I just wanted to mention that because it seemed to be relevant.
Wonderful. Thank you so much. Hare Krishna. There's a chat box item. Praveen says, I remember reading in Lilamrita that Srila Prabhupada was instructed to take sannyas by his Guru Maharaj. Also, his godbrothers also advised. He was already a great vairagi, and he fully knew the science of Krishna even before sannyas, and why he took or was recommended sannyas. One reason Srila Prabhupada said was for complete severance from householder life. Prabhupada said his Guru Maharaj was coming to him in a dream, and he thought, I have to give up my family. This is horrible. But that was necessary. That was necessary so that Srila Prabhupada could give his full energy for spreading the teachings of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. Anyone else have any insights they might want to add on that? But I'm sure there's always multiple reasons for everything. That one comes to my mind. Yes, Kendra.
Oh, thank you, Maharaj. I don't know that I have anything specifically to add on that point. But I had been wondering something recently. I'm also reading the pastimes of Prithu Maharaj, and there and elsewhere it's explained that formerly the entire world was ruled by a single emperor. And I often wonder how that was practically done, since, if the emperor, for example, is sitting in Hastinapur and there's some disturbance in the equivalent of, North America. I don't know how the population was distributed, or how tight the network of sages, and there was no internet, there was no global communications. I really wonder how that was practically accomplished, but perhaps it's not a fair question.
Well, I don't know the details. Of course, we know that Britain in her day was ruling America. Britain and in another day was ruling India from quite a distance. So it was, as Srila Prabhupada might say, a question of management. One has to know how to do these things. But it has been done. There have been empires that were quite extended, and they ran. And with, headed by lesser persons than Maharaj Prithu or Maharaj Parikshit.
Yeah, no, thank you for that. That's perfect, because I'm thinking also that what we've seen in our short lifespan at the end of the 20th, beginning of the 21st century is just post any kind of empire of the kind that we're told existed back then, and we don't see any qualified rulers, any qualified kings anywhere. So obviously there must have been some way, like you say, that if someone knows what they're doing, they can keep tabs on what's going on here and there.
Mm. Of course, now we're in the era of the American Empire, but that's, you don't need to enter that discussion. I don't think it contributes anything to our spiritual understanding. Tulsi Priya.
Maharaj, I have the question that's very personal to me, and I want to ask it, but if anybody else has something else that they want to discuss, I don't want to, I have a tendency to ask a lot of questions. So, but I'm just putting my hand up in case nobody else does.
Well, jump in.
Okay, so I got a phone call from a friend today. I've known her for about 20 years, and she is an initiated devotee, but she's not practicing Krishna consciousness anymore. And I've seen her through a lot of ups and downs. She's had a very colorful life, and she was married to a devotee. That didn't work out, more because of his doing than of hers. And she was telling me, that she really wants to maintain a relationship with me. She's not even a vegetarian anymore, which kind of upset me, but I haven't, talked to her about that. She recently got married. She's an older woman. She recently got married, and she was telling me, she says, I have reached out to devotees who have been in my life. She's been, involved with devotees for around 20 years. She says, none of them ever contact me and ask me how I'm doing. So when she says that, and her best friend who is a devotee died in the last year, so that's, another link. Her other best friend is involved in her life, and doesn't have time for her anymore. And I was reflecting on my situation, and I've gone through some difficulty since the pandemic started, because even though I'm sort of solitary and keep to myself, just little things like going to see my husband's guru and that community of devotees there is not available to me. And so, or inviting people over for prasadam or anything like that, where you have some face-to-face interaction. And I'm so grateful for the Zoom, because I think I would be completely off the deep end if it weren't for that. But I was reflecting that the people who consistently reach out to me and send me little messages on Facebook Messenger or drop me a line are not devotees. And I was thinking to myself, why is that the case for her? And why is it the case for me that, there's maybe 3 or 4 people who consistently reach out to me, but they're not devotees. And if I don't go on Facebook and I don't come to the Zoom, I don't hear from devotees. And I'm just wondering, sometimes I think to myself, maybe I've committed offenses or something, and that's why I'm not getting the association, or there's not a lot of interest. But this person that I was talking to, she's very friendly. She's a good, she's a nice lady. She's been good to people, and she's very popular, but still for her,
Yes.
devotees aren't keeping in contact with her, even though she lives in the same city with a lot of them. So I think this has been a situation that I've heard from a lot of people that, devotees, and I'm sure they haven't committed offenses, that they don't have that same interaction. It seems like people are living their lives and.
I think it's a sociological question I don't have the answer to.
Oh, okay.
I don't know, if somebody were to undertake a study, are devotees more social minded or less social minded than other people? Do they keep in touch with their friends more or less than other slices of the population?
Mhm.
Even the data, we don't know. We just have some anecdotal information. So what to speak of why it might be the way it is. First of all, I don't know really how it is.
Mhm.
Whether some people are, whether devotees are really more cold than the rest of the world. And second is, I don't know why it would be, whatever it is, I wouldn't know how to explain it. Just hazard guesses. We could say that from what should we say? A pastoral point of view, ISKCON is not as developed in those skills as it should be. This is apart from personal dealings. This is more, the leadership of our temples, the organization of our temples tends not to be as developed as it could be. So people fall through the cracks. People are going through crises in their lives, haven't been seen at the temple for 2 years, and nobody notices because there's not that sort of organization aimed at pastoral care. So presumably that will come up over time. Beyond that, I can't say much.
Okay, thank
Hare
you.
Krishna. Now, Venkatesh, if the spiritual master is personally present, we serve him Krishnaprasada. It seems that sometimes on Vyas Puja or Srila Prabhupada's disappearance day, his murti is served bhoga, cooked food, before offered to Krishna. How to understand? Yes, either way is accepted. We did that during Srila Prabhupada's time. Sometimes he would say, direct his servants to offer food to Krishna, or sometimes he could accept directly. It's understood if the spiritual master is accepting, the service is being accepted on behalf of Krishna. So that's acceptable. Or the spiritual master is offering to Krishna or accepting the remnants of Krishna's food. That's also acceptable. Either way. Yes, Tulsi Priya, is your hand still up or up again?
I'm sorry, I forgot to take it down.
Okay. Something else or anything more on that? Okay. Well, if there are no more topics or questions, we can all go home.
Yeah, I have one.
Yes, Kamalini.
Well, I was thinking of Tulsi Prabhu's question. And I have to admit, I'm like really guilty about staying in touch with people, even when they ask me to, because I just don't have time. I feel time is so limited. And one thing is, I go to the temple every day. So if one doesn't like, I talk to devotees in Alachua, which is like 1,000 devotees. Several devotees said, I'm so lonely here in Alachua. And I think, well, that's because you don't go to the morning program. If you go to the morning program, that's where you have association. I know Tulsi's away from a temple, I believe. You know what I mean? And but one can be so lonely, even in a huge community like that. And of course, you know how we're taught, if you want society, friendship, and love, then don't see Krishna on the bank of the Yamuna. But yeah, it is. I guess for some people, it's more of a need, right? A need of social interaction and all. But we know our interaction, just like Tulsi said, these Zoom calls and reading scripture together and kirtan, and you know, that's our primary association. And it's, you know what I mean, better, even though it is true, it has been hard. When Tulsi said that, it made me think of all the people in the material world, you know, who really don't have anyone, right? There are so many, even elderly people have nobody in their life at all who cares about them, or, you know, who is alive to care about them. And lots of people are on their own. And so we can have compassion for them. But anyway, just a little thought that I'm really guilty. And I would like to, yeah, like sometimes I say, all right, I'm gonna every day call one person or send a little note to somebody, you know, or post a book, because I'm supposed to sell books, but I don't. But anyway, my time is collapsed, and that's my problem, that I need help. There's probably some time management specialist on this call.
Two things come to mind. Definitely not, I'm not a time specialist, so I can't help you with that. I need help. But two thoughts come to mind. One is that, as you said, there's so many older people and so on who have no one in their life. And that's really an open field for the spreading of Krishna consciousness. Someone can, you know, that's really an open field. We haven't done much to reach out to that segment of the population, and much can be done.
I have to say
I'm not-
something, Marge. When you're done, I'm sorry. You just reminded me of something.
Okay. The second thought is that we're not chummy and chatty with people who, you know, they're just looking for company, but they're not looking for Krishna consciousness. We don't have the time. You know, we're not available for bridge games or shooting the breeze or you know, gossip and all of that. It's not, doesn't help them, and it doesn't help us. So we tend to be more social when there's devotional service. That's when we're most social, when we can serve one another in advancing in devotional service, or we're together, we can do some service. Then we tend to be most social. But if people are just needy for, you know, someone to talk to about the newspaper and you know, this and that and this and that, we move on. We're, you know, to a certain extent, we try to help them, but we can't. We're not very enthusiastic about having our time sucked for such prajalpa. We have Tulsi. Did you get over it, or is there?
I'm sorry. I just had to say something, because when you were talking about older people and as a preaching field, and I just remember very early on in like my first 6 months of Krishna consciousness, I had this idea that I approached the temple president with, that we should go and do kirtan and some preaching in old age homes. And he said to me, why? They can't do any service.
That reminds me that one time at 26 Second Avenue, Prabhupada said that we should go on the Bowery and have kirtan. It meant, you know, where all the drunkards were. Back then, the Bowery was really all these frowsy old drunks. And Prabhupada said that we should go there and chant Hare Krishna and tell them to chant. I forget what else he said. but we went and chanted Hare Krishna and distributed prasadam and took up a good collection too. It was surprising that even the drunkards were giving money. And they were receptive, they chanting Hare Krishna. So every sector. Lalit Prasad Prabhu.
Hare Krishna Maharaj, Dandavat Pranams. This is
Hare
Kishori
Krishna.
Dasi.
Yes.
I have a question about Krishna book. It's chapter 90, summary description of Lord Krishna's pastimes. So it says, Lord Krishna is manifested in various forms as Vishnu Tattva and Jiva Tattva, or in other words, as Svamsha and Vibhi Namsha. Vishnu Tattva is known as Svamsha, and Jiva Tattva is known as Vibhi Namsha. He can therefore display himself by his different transcendental pastimes in the portion of either Svamsha or Vibhi Namsha, as he likes. But still he remains the original Supreme Personality of Godhead. So my question was just that I was wanting some examples of when Krishna displays himself in the Jiva Tattva or the Vibhi Namsha.
Vivanamsha.
Yes.
Yes.
Prabhu.
Good question. There are two ways I can think of. We were just talking about Prithu Maharaj, who belongs to the Jiva Tattva, but is considered an incarnation of Krishna. Then there's Vyasadev, Buddha. There are Nard Muni. They're counted amongst the avatars or representations of Krishna in this world, but they belong to the Jiva Tattva or Vibhinangsha. This Angsha means a part, and Svamsa means like an integrated part himself. Sva means his own self, or his own, his own self, a portion of his own self, Svamsa. And Vibhinna means separated. So a separated portion, that's called Vibhinamsha, or the Jiva Tattva. So those are some examples. Prithu Maharaj, Buddha, Narad, Vyas. They're jivas, but they're representing Krishna. It also occurs to me, in the Shastra it said, Vasudeva Sarvamiti, Krishna is everything. Or in the Bhagavad Gita, Sarvata Panipadam Tat, Sarvatokshi Shuromukham. Everywhere are his hands and legs, everywhere are his faces. And Prabhupada comments that the living entities, the hands of the living entities are also Krishna's hands. The legs of the living entities are also Krishna's legs. That is, we're parts of Krishna, so we also manifest the presence of Krishna. I was just at a doctor's office yesterday, so the staff, this receptionist and so on, they also represent the doctor. They're not the doctor. You don't get the same benefit from talking to the staff that you get from talking to the doctor, but they're also part of the doctor's establishment, part of the doctor's office, and they also perform their function. So, when you want to talk to your doctor, for some purposes, it's fine to talk to the staff. You want to schedule an appointment, for example, or you get, find out where your test results are. You don't have to talk to the doctor, you can talk to the staff. So the living entities also are manifesting Krishna's presence. Even the material energy manifests Krishna's presence. That's also Krishna's energy. So Krishna means Krishna with his energies. So Krishna himself is the origin, and then the energies are also manifestations of Krishna. The example is given elsewhere: the sparks, the smoke, the wood, they're all part of the fire. So the fire is the main thing, but the smoke and the sparks and so on, they also manifest the presence of fire, but they depend on the fire. Is that okay? Does that answer for you?
Yes, Maharaj, thank you. Hare Krishna.
Thank you. Hare Krishna. Something else?
One more thing, Maharaj.
Yes.
I just wanted to announce that, actually, I don't know if I'm authorized to do this, but for various reasons, I'm imposing myself. Your YouTube channel, which I've been working on, I wanted to post the link to it here for at least the channel where the Istagosthis are. I had been uploading videos to my personal channel, which some devotees are looking at for videos when they can't be presently at the Istagosthis in person. And now there's this official channel of yours, so I am posting the link in the chat box if anybody wants to look at old, prior Istagosthis that have been uploaded to YouTube.
Oh, I'll copy it.
And it's not complete because there are the old Istagosthis from like the Vanaprastha Adventure and the Four Rags. Those I haven't finished transferring those from my personal channel to your official channel, but little by little it's coming.
It's happening.
Yeah.
Thank you for helping with that. Much appreciated.
Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna.
And if anybody has, I have some ideas about things we can do to fluff out the channel and make it more available to other people. If anybody is interested in helping with that, you can get in touch with me, and I'll post my email here, or you can leave a comment on the channel if you like.
Thank you.
Hare Krishna.
Meena. Yeah. there you go.
Hare Krishna, please accept my most humble obeisances. And
Hare Krishna obeisances.
Hare Krishna, a lot of purification going on every day. It's wonderful. This is very much part of it, attending your sessions here. I'm going to venture out on this because I live on the dangerous side. A while back, I feel like I made a complete fool out of myself here because I wanted to know, I was insistent, how is Agni in Chandra's speech? I really
How is
wanted-
what?
Agni, we were reading that the demigod.
Oh, how's Agni connected with speech? Yes.
And you were supposed to know everything you're supposed to say, So you suggested that I do some research.
Mm.
I was like, well, yeah, that makes sense, except that, I'm not like college material, my research. But I have been sitting on this a while because I really did want to know. And I did find a few things that I was satisfied with. I don't think it's a complete answer, but I can share what I found and make more of a fool of myself, probably. If that's all right.
Sure.
Okay, one thing that I got the realization is that the demigods, they're controlling the universal affairs, the earth, the water, the air, the fire. But they're also present in our bodies because the soul, I was just reading that Prabhupada's Purport, 2nd chapter, is situated within the body, just like the sun is situated in the universe. So the demigods are active within our very bodies, just like they are in the universe.
Yes.
So I got I'm still not finding the answer. Okay, Agni, where are you? But I got that and I was really happy about it.
Yes.
And, yeah. There's other things too that came out of that. Yeah. And I saw how they have to work together. The demigods actually work together. The fire, it works with the water, and the water works with the air, and they all work together.
Mm.
Yeah, I was thinking we could learn a lot from that, actually, how they work together. So I was happy with that. I said, okay, it was worth it. But then something else came, that Agni has a consort.
Hmm.
Demigods, they have companions, and her name is Swaha.
Hmm. Right.
Swaha. And she is actually the demigoddess of speech. When those mantras are chanted, that's why it's always Om this, Om that, Om something else, Swaha, invoking her. She's in charge of the perfection of those mantras. This is what I don't know how accurate it is, but I was looking at it and I was like, wow, yeah, I like that. So he's the controller of Swaha because he's her husband. She's married to him, Swaha, and she's in charge of speech. So I don't know, I'm sure there's more to it, but thank you for letting me share that.
Thank you. I hadn't known that she was in charge of speech. There is a goddess Vak who's
Yes, Vak.
known,
Yes,
and so Swaha's identified with Vak.
yes.
Very interesting.
That's Agni's companion. She's a servant.
Very interesting. Thank you.
Hare Krishna.
And yes, this is the position of the demigods and that's part of what's inherent in what we're reading in the second canto, or what we've read in the second canto, that the influence of the demigods extends not only throughout the universe, but throughout our very bodies. That the bodies are, in one sense, they're like little capsule samples of the universe. That they've got water, they've got fire, they've got air, they've got mind, they've got all of the various elements. So the demigods are involved there. They're managing the earth, they're managing the fire, they're managing the water, they're managing the air. So we can't do anything without the demigods. That's we read that the eye, for example, we say it's ours, but it doesn't work without the help of the demigod involved in vision, Surya. He presides not only over light, but over vision. So we can't see without his help. So everything we want to do depends on demigodly cooperation. Nice that you brought that up. Thank you. Krishna, Krishna. And I wonder what else might be in our thoughts this evening. Oh, there's Tulsi Priya thinks it's fantastic that I offhandedly gave an assignment and Meena took it up seriously. Thank you, Meena. Okay. Let's see if there's something I missed there. No, I didn't miss anything. All right. Praveen says, I thought Saraswati was the goddess of learning. Yes, she is. Yes, she is. Once we get into sorting our way through the demigods, we're going to have a lot to do. Who's in charge of what, and overlapping jurisdictions and these sorts of things. Yes, Lalit Prasad.
Thank you, Maharaj. Okay, talking about demigods, we're coming up with a lunar eclipse on November 19th. And, from my experience being around Indian people, some of them are pretty strict about following certain rules and regulations during the lunar eclipses. Now, we don't, and I don't remember back in the day, us just not going out on Sankirtan because it was a lunar eclipse, or not going out for 3 days. There's just so many things, basically, I won't say superstitions because I don't want to disrespect any community or any cultural belief system. But what is or even better, what is your position or your stand on days when you have lunar eclipses, when Rahu is in power, or what does this mean to you?
Well, let's look back at the appearance of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. That was the day of a lunar eclipse, and Srila Prabhupada said everyone was chanting Hare Krishna. They went to the Ganges, and they were all chanting the holy name of Krishna. I think Prabhupada said the whole of India, but in any case, they were chanting the holy name. That's the best thing to do, whether things are auspicious or inauspicious or somewhere in between. The best possible engagement for everyone is to chant the holy name of Krishna. So we definitely don't stop Sankirtan because there's a lunar eclipse. If we stopped every time something was inauspicious, we'd never go on Sankirtan. Kali Yuga itself is inauspicious. The whole damn age is inauspicious. So but we carry on with our Sankirtan under all circumstances. So that's the best engagement. There's some traditional things that are done. In Vrindavan in particular, the temples are closed during the eclipse and for some time before and after. Nothing is eaten during that time. And there are so many practices that people follow. Srila Prabhupada didn't make much of an issue of those things. I don't recall anything that he said or did in that regard. But the main thing is the chanting of the holy name. That's what we see in Chaitanya Mahaprabhu's Leela.
Thank you, Maharaj.
I remember being in Union Square on the occasion of a solar eclipse. It was quite a major solar eclipse. And, people had their sunglasses and whatever it was, their special ways of viewing the sun, and everybody's wowing and doing something or other. And then, it was just another foolishness because it's just wow, and then it's over. But we were there distributing books and chanting Hare Krishna. So that had permanent value. And we didn't care about the eclipse. We weren't wow. We weren't wowed by the eclipse. We were just carrying on with Krishna service as usual. Well, considering all that, should we end with a few minutes of kirtan?
We certainly could. Although our usual cleanup kirtan person, Panchatattva Prabhu, is not in the audience, so.
I bet you could take over for him.
I'll try. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama,
Vishnupad Punamansa Paribraj Kacharya Stotra Sri Srimad A.C. Bhakti Vedanta Swami Maharaj Prabhupada Ki Jai. Ananta Koti Vaishnava Ki Jai. Namacharya Srila Haridas Thakur Ki Jai. Prem Sikaho Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Srivas Adi Gaur Bhakta Vrinda Ki Jai. Sri Sri Radha Krishna Gop Gopinath Sham Kun Radha Kunigiri Govardhan Ki Jai. Vrindavan Dham Ki Jai. Navadvip Dham Ki Jai. Jagannath Puri Ki Jai. Gangamai Ki Jai. Jamunamai Ki Jai. Tulsi Devi Ki Jai. Bhakti Devi Ki Jai. Samaveta Bhakta Vrinda Ki Jai. All glories to the assembled devotees. All glories to the assembled devotees. All glories to the assembled devotees. Gaur Premanande. Hari Hari Bol. Thank you all very much. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna. Thank you, Maharaj.
Hare Krishna.
Thank you, Guru Maharaj. Thank you, Guru Maharaj.
Hare Krishna. Hare Krishna. Hare
Maharaj.
Krishna.
Thank you, devotees,
Hare
for your
Krishna.
association.
Hare Krishna.
Hare
Krishna.
Krishna.
Can you?
Hare Krishna.
It's still- Hare Krishna Arjuna.
Hare Krishna.
Yeah. See, everybody does.
Well, that's-
Jai Purva Prabhu. Jai.
Jai Hare
Can we-
Krishna.
Can you see us on the screen?
No,
Yes.
No.
but I mean, not, you know how when the speaker, if you're on speaker view, every speaker's on the full screen, but we never ever are.
Oh, I don't know what to do
I
about that.
see you,
But you
Yeah,
only,
you
see
are
yourself.
now.
but wait, oh,
There we
now,
go.
but
Thank
that's
you.
rare. Somebody did something to make that happen, right?
Maybe you don't see yourself, but we see you.
Well, now we do, but not usually.
Hmm.
Okay, thanks, sorry.
Hare Krishna.
Jai Hare
Hare
Krishna.
Hari
Now
Bol.
now it's too much. Too much. Turn it off, turn it off.
Thank you.
Jai.
Gaur Premanande.
Hari Hari Bol.
Hari Bol.